It was supposed to be a safe haven.
Israel has told around 1 million Palestinians in the northern part of Gaza to move to the southern part.
But as an Israeli ground invasion looms, right now it's anything but. The southern city of Rafah, on Gaza's Egyptian border, a death trap for the 1.5 million Palestinians crammed into an area that usually houses less than a fifth of its current population.
I know already people who were displaced 6 and 7 times before ending up in Rafah. We were told that Rafah is a safe area. However, it was being bombed since day one.
When you have a population that is 60% children and women, the risks to civilians is profound.
Last week, the IDF warned everyone to evacuate, but with nowhere left to run, the newly formed tent city has been forced to endure deadly airstrikes. More than 133 killed in just the last 24 hours.
The helicopters and aircrafts opened their gunfires and launched their missiles over all of the people of Rafah. It was a nightmare. It was like a night from hell.
That hell compounded by living conditions so squalid, locals are now being ravaged by illnesses like hepatitis A and cholera, all while facing a catastrophic lack of food.
Kids in Gaza are now dying from the deliberate withholding of food. That is a war crime, and that makes those who orchestrate it war criminals.
Calls for a ceasefire are so far falling on deaf ears.
We need to get those hostages out. We need to get the aid in. The best way to do that is stop the fighting now.
The IDF ploughing ahead with plans to invade at any moment.
Those who say that under no circumstances should we enter Rafah are basically saying, lose the war.
I don't know where to go after Rafah. It's our last resort.
The IDF has just released footage of what it says is the mastermind of the October 7 attacks, hiding in tunnels under Gaza.
Hamas leaders care about their own families and money. They don't care about anything else.
Israel vowing it'll stop at nothing until Hamas is destroyed and the 101 hostages believed to be still alive in Gaza are returned.
We will continue doing everything in our power to fulfill our mission. Free our hostages from Hamas and free Gaza.
So this, it seems to me, is what happens when you engage in a war on absolutist terms and when you decide that the cause you're fighting for is ultimately so non-negotiable that whatever it takes simply must be done. And in the case of Israel, that thing that they're fighting for is the elimination of Hamas. And if that means attacking not only one of the most densely populated places on earth, but a place that is even more densely populated than usual, and that is the source of their food, their water, and so on, then that's just what it means. That's the price that's worth paying. It seems increasingly that's not a price the world is prepared to accept. And what's interesting is South Africa have now gone back to the International Court of Justice, and they want the court to rule on whether or not this is consistent with the ruling they had before. Now, you might remember South Africa took Israel to court, and the court decided this, that Israel must take immediate and effective measures to enable the provision of urgently needed basic services and the humanitarian assistance to address the adverse conditions of life faced by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The short version of that is they've got to let aid in. They are now about to bomb the place that is the avenue through which the aid gets in. I have no idea how aid's meant to get in. I have no idea how these people are meant to survive in those circumstances. And that is now the licence, ultimately, that Israel is asking for, a licence to deny aid and to go into one of the most fraught, densely civilian populated places in the world.
Can you get aid in, but can we also get some of these refugees who are desperate to get out through the Rafah crossing into Egypt? Well, I mean, parents with children and that type of thing?
It's hard because that's a border with Egypt, right? And Egypt doesn't want to open that border. And it doesn't want to open it for two reasons. I think one is to do with the Egyptian government, and they will not want any possibility of Hamas getting to Egypt. But the other thing that's a really big, this is a much bigger conversation, but it's really important to understand is a lot of people would want to get out, but for a lot of Palestinians, the minute they leave, they will feel they are abandoning their lands and leaving that place to be taken over by Israel, that it'll ultimately end up in an expulsion. And they'll quote lots of senior Israeli figures, people like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and so on. These are ministers in the Israeli government who've basically said, we should encourage Palestinians to leave. So as long as you're sceptical of that, and as long as you believe that what you're fighting for is the existence of the country, there will be enough people who will say, no, I want to stay. I don't want
There's
to
women
go.
and children, though.
Yeah.
It's like...
I know, it's tragic on every level. It really, really is. Anyway.